Hey, y'all.
Hello there.
I just wanted to come to you first before we get this next episode started and say thank you for your support. I really appreciate you guys turning in, subscribing. I'm really excited about these next few episodes with Amy Allen and Chris Bartlett. And I also wanted to come on here and say, man, this Ahsoka series is incredible. So hopefully you guys are keeping up with it. We'll talk about it after the end of the season. I don't want to put any spoilers up here, but until then, enjoy it. And let's get to this next episode with Amy Allen. I'm really excited. What's going on, Star Wars fans? We have the wonderful Miss Amy Allen here with us today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
This is
thank you so much for
exciting.
being here, man.
Sure.
Everybody's excited. I've talked to a few people that have emailed me, and everybody's looking forward to listening to what you have to say. So I'm pretty excited about this too. So
Fun.
everything's been going well with you.
Yep. Just enjoying a quiet house while my kids are at school.
Nice,
And yeah, everything is good.
cool. So have you watched any of the Ahsoka series yet?
We have. So we're a little behind because we like to watch it as a family. We've done all the new stuff together as a
Right.
family. So we are only two in. So I'm hearing lots of things. We're gonna regroup and sit down as a family and watch it together.
Awesome. Yeah, I've decided not to put too much stuff up on here because I know a couple people that are doing that to like do the whole series all at once and just binge it. So I didn't
Yeah,
want
and
to.
that's fun to do too. Because I know when we were watching Mandalorian, you're so excited, and then it ends, and then you have to wait for the next one to come out,
Yeah.
and it's fun to kind of do it back to back.
Yeah, and that week in between, it's just like you're just
Yeah.
jonesing for it. So
Yep.
yeah, I think they've been doing a really good job with
Me
all the
too.
all the stuff coming out. It's really been cool and keeping Star Wars alive here in the universe.
Sure.
Even though they switched it, I know a lot of people aren't real happy with some of the Disney stuff. But as a fan that I am, I think it's great, and they're just expanding everything and giving us more and more stuff for the kids
I
and
think
for
so
us
too.
adults.
I think so too. And one of the things I find being out there and doing conventions and meeting people is I've met this whole new crop of kids in their like mid 20s who grew up on the prequels, and like I think, and now with all this new stuff, it just keeps it going. It keeps it alive, and it's I mean, I feel that so lucky that that people still respond so positively and love my character. It's just so it's a great world to be a part of.
Well, and I think it's cool too because again, at first some of the prequel stuff, people were like, but now, I mean, people are just head over heels about it, which is
I
really cool.
know.
So like some of my generation, I thought they were all great, and I don't have anything really bad
Me
to say.
too.
There's
Me
nothing I
too.
can change, so I'm not going to be mad about anything. Even
No.
the three new movies, some people were, saying stuff about them, but I think it's neat, like you said, all these ages are, people from my age all the way down to, 3 and 4 year olds. And I talk to people that are bringing their kids into it and stuff, which is really nice.
Sure.
And like you said, you watch it as a family with your kids and your husband.
Yeah. It's nothing but positive, and it's just a I'm so glad that it's continuing on.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, and I've always said it's pretty much going to be, I'm getting up there, but as long as they keep doing this, I mean, I'm pretty much going to have Star Wars from when I was 10 years old to the
You're a
rest of my
lifer.
life. Yeah,
Yep.
which will be cool. So let's get into a little bit about you. How did you start getting into this? I know you went to college and moved, and some people know that you worked at ILM, but just sort of give us a little bit of the history and background for you getting into this universe.
I grew up in Southern California, outside of Los Angeles. And then I always had it in my mind that I wanted to move to San Francisco, and I wanted to work in the film business. And I knew that's where George Lucas was based, in Marin County. So I went to San Francisco State. I moved up to San Francisco with two girls that I grew up with. One I went to junior high and high school with. So she graduated a semester ahead of me or a year ahead of me. And she got a job in the art department at Industrial Light and Magic. So she is ultimately the one who took my resume and passed it along.
Okay.
So funny enough, I just had lunch last week with the woman who was one of the women that hired me.
Oh, that's
So that
cool.
was really fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a lot of reminiscing. So yeah, so I went in for an interview and I got hired with no experience. I was hired as a production assistant and very green, as they say. I knew really nothing. And so I can't remember how many, maybe a year after I started working there is when I landed on episode two, Star Wars episode two, Attack of the Clones, as a production assistant.
Oh, wow.
And one day, my production manager put a black and white photocopy of the character on my desk and said, do you want to do this? Would you be interested in doing this? And I said, yes, sure. And prior to that, I should tell you, I was a blue Twi'lek for the episode one DVD
Yeah.
release. They swapped a scene out, and so I was a senator's aide.
Yep.
So I had experience with the blue makeup and the headpiece, and I wore this beautiful costume. So I did that prior. So I'd had a little bit of experience, said, yes, I want to do it. And then the process sort of started of, the costume. And we took a bunch of Polaroids that we sent up to the ranch where George Lucas, his office was. It was approved, and then off we went. I don't remember how long it was in between.
Right.
Couple weeks before we shot it, because I did it pretty close to the release of Attack of the Clones, because it was kind of a last minute thing. I think it in March, and the movie came out in May.
Oh, wow.
If I remember correctly. It was 21 years ago, or
Yeah.
I think now.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
It's been so long for that.
It's been a long time.
Wow.
So yeah, so then we did it, and before you know it, I was going to my first Star Wars celebration in Indiana. Maybe that's when I met you. I don't even remember when I met you.
I think it was either Orlando or Anaheim, one of those two.
So yeah, so I did my first celebration and started doing conventions after that, and then I ended up moving back to Southern California, and for years I sort of had my job. I worked in production, and I worked for a producer for a long time, and then I worked for a director. So I had my job, behind the camera. And then I would do a lot of conventions and, things for Star Wars on the weekends, which.
Oh, that's cool. So you were still in the movie industry, working behind the scenes, and then go out and do your conventions and stuff on the weekends. Oh, that's cool.
Up until I had my kids. Yeah. Yep. And then I started kind of this last couple years, and I think I really credit, the Clone Wars cartoon and all these new series. I kind of stopped doing conventions for a little while when my kids were little, and then I started dipping my toes and doing it again, and it's been so positive and so fun. And like I said, all these sort of mid-20 range kids who are like, I grew up on the prequels, I love the prequels, and it's just been really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's neat, like you said, as the Clone Wars and stuff comes out and they put your character back in there, it's giving it a little bit more life as well, so other people, and even some of these younger kids can recognize you, which is cool. So how was the makeup, how long did that take for you to get in? I mean, were you up in the morning and, a couple hours, or how long was that?
Yeah, it's funny. I think about that, sitting in the makeup chair. Nowadays we'd be like, okay, let's look at our phone while we sit there. But I just remember it took about 4.5 hours, maybe a little bit longer.
Wow. Just
kind of, sitting there and just enjoying the process of sort of transforming into this creature character. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun.
How many different like makeup artists and costume people did you have doing that at one time?
Well, it's funny. One of them I still keep in touch with. His name is Danny. It was Danny and Lauren, who are the two main makeup artists. And then the assistant costume supervisor, Jillian Libert, did my costume. Okay. And she's still a friend. I talk to her still today too.
Awesome. That's cool that you were able to build those relationships and friendships and continue them 20 years later.
Yeah. Last weekend we had lunch. There was 6 of us from ILM.
Yeah, I saw that on your post. You had the picture of that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so fun because we have a lot of really good memories from that time. And we actually ended up at one restaurant. That place closed for dinner, and we walked over to another restaurant and sat there for another 2 hours because there was just so much. I mean, it's a lot of history and a lot of fun stories and just good time.
Oh, absolutely, I'm sure. So, speaking of fun stories, do you have a particular memory that were like, this was a special memory, I'm going to keep this forever, or a funny, memory that you have while you were on set?
It's just really surreal to be. I was really young when it happened, and to all of a sudden have this opportunity, and then to be standing, against this big green screen with George Lucas and John Knoll and all these people that it was crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And I think it's cool. And we talked a little bit earlier. So you were a Star Wars fan before you even went to college.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted to get in with Lucasfilm or Industrial Light and Magic, and that was my intention. I wanted to stay up there, and I wanted to work there. I guess, I mean, somehow maybe I was manifesting it, but
Yeah.
it worked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was a really fun time in my life working there.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, as we are fans, and then you were lucky enough to be immersed in that universe, which is really cool. So it had to be sort of extra special for you, like you said, when you were able to talk to, George Lucas and some of these other people that were on set that you looked up to, which is really cool.
Yeah, and then there's other moments along the way, all the people that I've met and the people that I've become friends with, and meeting Jeremy Bullock and Peter Mayhew and all these people along the way, and just really, really, really special people that have, you meet along the way at these, whether it's a celebration or a convention, and the next thing you know, you're down having dinner with them, and you're hearing all these great stories, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that this universe is so friendly. I met them during Celebration, Peter and Jeremy. I met Dave way back in my first one. I did the VIP thing, and everybody's just so friendly, and the people there, the fans. I mean, it's just such a cool experience and such an uplifting experience. And nobody's there that's mad or ticked off or anything. It's just everybody's smiling and having a good time, whether it is at Celebration or at another convention, or even a bookstore or a toy store that that you meet Star Wars fans at, or you go to see someone like yourself to get an action figure signed or a card signed. So I think this whole universe is just really cool.
And I've met a lot of kids recently that have said, "Oh, this is my first convention," and I asked, "But what do you think? How do you like it?" And I said, "This is your place. This is where you will find like-minded people, and you will discover that conventions are a lot of fun, and it's very inclusive, and it's a fun environment."
And again, like, it's just everybody's so friendly all the time, and it is like-minded people are there, so you can have
Sure.
a Star Wars conversation with someone, and then you can have another Star Wars conversation with the next person, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool, because obviously we don't do that in our everyday life as we're walking through the
Right.
grocery store, or So I came across something else, and you played triplets in the bar in Attack of
Yes.
the Clones. So how did that come about?
Gosh, we there's a few of us who make an appearance in the bar scene. Some ILM people.
Okay.
I can't remember actually how that came about.
Yeah, because Anthony Daniels is in there, right? In that scene as well, and so is Ahmad Best. They're both in there as like humans, I think. Which is sort of cool to see. We get to see them, and I went back and checked it out where you were in there. So I thought that was sort of neat as well.
Yeah.
Where they put in, I guess, extras, but also people that were already on set.
Yeah, that was fun. But it was cool to be other characters that were non-painted, putting
Yeah.
on some fun costumes and fun hair, and
Yeah, and not having to be 4.5 hours in a chair putting
that was fun.
makeup and costumes on, which it's just something different that you're able to do, which I think is really cool. Everybody's got to know, and everybody wants to know, I'm sure. So how was it meeting and just talking with George Lucas?
It was so easy, and he was just a nice person, and so you're filled with nerves, of course. I think I was probably more nervous going back for Revenge of the Sith, because I knew that I had already done it the first time, and going back, I just remember, your stomach is in knots, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but he's so nice that,
Yeah.
he just like went in there and did the best I could for not knowing that I was going to be in a Star Wars movie,
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I can't even imagine. I mean, again, it would just be so intimidating to see him, or talk to him, and which is neat because again, I deal with some people that are celebrities and
Yeah,
stuff where,
sure.
but they're normal people,
Right.
but we don't get to see them all the time in that normalness.
Yeah.
You see them in the interviews or whatever. So
I think what helped is I knew everybody because it was my group. Everybody that was on set, my production manager, Julie, and everybody I knew. So there was the sort of that atmosphere too of, oh, I'm comfortable because they can sort of, make fun of me a little bit or make me
right,
feel comfortable or make me laugh or break so it felt a little, better that I had people that I knew around me
right.
because I worked with them every day,
Yeah.
back to work the next day is back to doing my production assistant job.
Okay, so you still continued to do that
Mhm.
on set while you also acted in there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
Yep.
So as
Yeah.
a production assistant, what were you doing like behind the scenes and stuff like that?
I mean, back then it was all the things, getting coffees and doing all the, running around, running. I would drive up to Skywalker Ranch,
Wow.
drop things off. It's just all the things that PAs do. Just,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's cool too. I mean, just again, everybody watching this, I mean, just Skywalker Ranch. I mean, it's just
yeah, that was pretty
epic.
surreal.
Yeah,
It is.
exactly.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is my job. I get to drive up beautiful, Marin County. It's beautiful. Drive up to this amazing place. And yeah, that part of the job was fun. And listen, you start out and you don't know that much, but over time you start to really, you know, understand the business and how it works. And yeah, I mean, everybody starts somewhere.
Right. Oh,
I
absolutely.
didn't really, I didn't know very much when I started. And, by the time I left, I was that much further along and it was a fun job.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and again,
Yeah.
like you said, you have to start somewhere and just, going there and building up and being there for that, I guess, put you in that position to play that character,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool as well,
And I was saying to my friend that I had lunch with last week, who was I remember being in the conference room when she was interviewing me, and ultimately she was part of the group of people that hired me. They took a chance because they knew that I didn't have any experience, but she's like, we just liked you, so we took a chance. And
Yeah.
so I was like, thank you, thank you for taking that chance on me.
Yeah. Now, besides the conventions and stuff, do you do anything else in the film world, or are you just mom and do this?
Not anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
once, and because you've obviously met Chris and you guys both work in the music business. So I never went back to work when they were little. And then he was still traveling when they were really little. And we just kind of made it work with having me be home with them.
Right.
Yeah, I just have my kids just turned 12.
That's crazy.
I have boy girl twins and they turned 12 on Friday, which is crazy. And fortunately, I've been able to be a full-time mom, parent. And that's, I think, really, especially in these kind of times when you have kids shifting into, preteens and phones and just all the things it's different than how I grew up in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And me in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, it's just 80s, 90s, times are different. So I feel that I'm fortunate and I'm happy that I can, be with them and pick them up from school and
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
That's cool. Well, and I think it's cool too that you still get to you still
And
go
then
out and do the conventions.
And I love it. I love it. I love, the traveling again and just kind of, like I said before, all these kids that I'm meeting I love the prequels. Yeah, new relationships that I've made since I've been back doing conventions again and just meeting a lot of new people from the new shows. And it's been a really fun time.
Yeah. Did you voice anything in the Clone Wars? That was not you, correct? I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The woman who voiced Aayla Secura is her name is Jennifer Hale. And I have actually never met her. So hopefully one day I can.
Oh, that would be neat. But again, like you said, even just bringing that character into the Clone Wars and this animation stuff, it's been able to project, that character even more to this younger generation. But also, and that's what I love about the Clone Wars is, a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's a cartoon. And well, sure it is. But the stories that they go into in some of these characters, I think is really neat because they sort of deep dive into some of these characters. Even, a couple episodes of Yoda, where we really he's so mysterious. But, there's a couple episodes, in Clone Wars where they sort of deep dive a little bit into that, But I think that's what's neat about Clone Wars and even some of the books and things that are coming out and all this live action stuff. The Easter eggs that go back to, like in Mandalorian, the Easter eggs that go back to the original series and in this Ahsoka stuff that's coming out. I think it's so cool that, they go to Tatooine and have more pod races. And, it's really cool to bring that up. And I think it's great that you're still able to get out there and do these conventions and things like that.
Thank you. I honestly, sometimes it's definitely, I still pinch myself or, like just, wow, this is all these years later and there's still such a good positive response. And every time I sign a Funko, I just can't, it blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the cards and like you said, Funkos and pictures and just different things like that. When was the first time you actually, was it like your first celebration that you signed your first like action figure or anything? Because I don't even think Funko Pops were out back then.
No. Yeah, no. That part was surreal. Just, it was photos. It was signing a photo. But one thing too that I really appreciate and receive a lot of is really beautiful fan art. I keep it all. I have a binder that my mom has kept from the very beginning that has things that people have beautiful sketches. I have paintings. I have just a collection of really beautiful fan art.
Because there's so many fans of the Star Wars universe, I'm sure, like you said, some of that art is just amazing. Some of these artists is just, it's crazy because even in Celebration, some of the stuff that, where they have the whole, artist, with all their different drawings and paintings and stuff. And it's just insane. So I can only imagine people that are just, hey, I'm an artist. I'm going to draw this up. I'm a fan of your character and send it off to you, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, I keep it all. I love it. It's all safe and taken care of and organized. And I keep everything.
That's awesome. And now are your kids, obviously they're old enough now to 12. Have they seen all the movies or some of them or? They've seen
everything.
Awesome.
Yeah. The only thing we're not current on is we need to catch up on Ahsoka because we're only 2 episodes in.
Right.
But they've seen everything.
That's
and
awesome.
they love going to, well, my daughter especially, she loves the conventions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I took them to Celebration 2021 in Anaheim. I had them. I had my niece, my nephew. There was a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, because the one time I saw you had mom and dad.
I did.
Right.
When we were getting out of the car.
Yeah. Yep.
I took them. Cool. I didn't. Yeah, they came. They just actually came and hung out. I was still a little with my dad because it was like sort of post-COVID times.
Yeah. Yep. So it was the first one.
Yeah. So I didn't let him go.
Yeah.
Because he has some health stuff. So I was like, you can relax at the hotel, but you can't go to the convention.
Yeah. Just being a little cautious for sure.
Yeah.
Because again, I mean, I think there's like through that weekend or whatever, it's like 80 to 100,000 people.
A lot of people
that come through, which again is awesome because you have Comic-Con, which is huge as well, but Star Wars Celebration it's all Star Wars. It's it's not Marvel and Harry Potter and it's just Star Wars, which is pretty cool. So I enjoy that. And then we got Japan in 2025, so that's going to be interesting. Yep. I'm starting to put some money away for that. So
have you been to Japan?
I haven't. That is one place that I have not been yet. So I saw that you have been there before. Is that correct?
I have. Yes.
Cool. Now, was it a Star Wars thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been there a few, maybe 3 or 4 times for Star Wars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Japan
cool.
is amazing.
Yeah.
And the fans are the best.
Yeah. I can only imagine because just talking to people in mine and Chris's industry, when you go over to countries like that, like South Africa or China, the music industry is it's crazy over there as well. You know,
Yes.
so I can only imagine, you know, Star Wars fans being just
Yes.
as excited to have yourself and everybody else over there,
Yes.
which is pretty neat.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Been able to meet any of the new actors or actresses in some of these, like, have you met Ewan McGregor or anybody like that when you've gone to these celebrations?
I've never met Ewan, only I saw him at Celebration. I've met a lot of people over the last few years since, Celebration 2021, and then the last couple years of doing conventions. There's been a whole new group of people that I've met.
Yeah, because there's so many new actors and actresses out with all this live action stuff, you know?
Yeah, that's what's so fun about it, because I feel like I'm kind of starting to be in the sort of old school.
Yeah, you want almost an OG, you know?
Because I was doing them in the time, still with Jeremy and Kenny Baker and everybody, and then now it's all a lot of new people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like Chris has done some of that C3PO stuff, you know, which is cool because Anthony's obviously getting a little older, you know, but so yeah, you know, it's sort of neat, you know, moving into that next generation, you know, where, you know, we get to see it's because it's still going, and these actors and actresses, you know, part of life, you know, some of them have passed away, but also been able to continue to hold that character true to those OG characters, you know, like Chewbacca. You know, Peter Mayhew's not here anymore, but I mean, you know, the new kid that's doing Chewbacca is killing it. You know, he did a great job. You know, so it's neat to continue to see those characters thrive after their original person that portrayed that character has passed on, but we still get to enjoy those in these, you know, new things and stuff that are coming out, you know, which is really cool.
Yes, for sure. No, it's just definitely keeping it alive.
Well, and like you said, these kids that are in their 20s that grew up on the prequels and are so excited, they gotta, you know, they're gonna be my age, you know, in 20 or 30 years, and you know, this stuff is still coming out, so all this live action is new for them too. And what's neat, like I said before, the Easter eggs that are in there go back to the prequels, go back to the, you know, the OG, you know, 4, 5, and 6. So it's so cool. I think that it's continuing to go. What George Lucas created, you know, in 1977 is still thriving, you know. And I think Dave and John have done a fantastic job with the animation and with this live action stuff. I mean, they're just killing it. So would you have any appearances or any conventions or anything coming up?
I'm going to actually be here. Let me tell you, Saturday, October 7th from 12 to 4, I'm going to be at RedFive Toys and Collectibles. And that's in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts.
Okay. RedFive. That's definitely Star Wars.
Yep. So I'll be there coming up really soon. Saturday, October 7th. And then after that, the rest of the year is kind of quiet.
Cool. Well, and I think everything sort of starts to quiet down. Obviously, the holidays coming up and everything. So which will be cool, you know. Just to have some time with the family and not have to worry about, you know, back and forth. But again, you get at least one more thing. You get to go and see some fans.
Looking forward to it.
Sign some things. So
it'll be fun.
Awesome. So anybody in the Boston area, make sure you check that out. October 7th at RedFive. Amy will be up there. Again, thank you so much for being on here. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and
absolutely
had such a good time. I'm glad you were able to.
Having me.
Oh, absolutely. So maybe we'll have to do it again sometime.
For sure. Maybe we can do Chris and I together.
That would be cool.
Get a couple other. Here comes, not my Chris Bartlett.
Oh.
What's going on, dude?
Let me just let myself out.
And maybe some other Star Wars peeps.
Yeah. Again, Amy Allen, we're so glad that she came on here. Another 2 weeks, we'll be on here again. And thanks again for joining us. And we'll have some other guests on here. So keep a lookout for Star Wars Jedi Chat podcast. And until then, may the Force be with you. And we'll see you on the next Star Wars Jedi podcast.
Thank you.